Something very ironic just happened.
We're making a video about effort, and Eli put no effort into his hair.
We just tried to film this video,
Yeah.
and it went south. It just didn't work.
Nope.
And I was putting a lot of effort into trying to figure out how it should look, how it should be.
What we're trying to say is that we are teacher figures in this video.
And that is exactly the problem. So we started this video, and Mitch starts telling a story, and then I start taking the viewer's perspective, and I'm like judging if the things Mitch is saying are going to come across to an audience member, rather than just being here with Mitch, hearing what he has to say, and going with it. And I feel like so much of the spiritual path when it's not working is because you're doing just that. You're taking the step into analyzation mode
Yeah.
of like, what is me, where is where I should be, and how do I get there?
It's like so silly when you like actually state it out loud. Oh my gosh. Yeah, Ram Dass says like, oh, when you're thinking about anything, it's like you are just one step away from life. You're just like, you're so close, but you're not there.
You're just not there.
Yeah. And that's exactly, and it oftentimes happens, I feel like, on a very subconscious level. At least for me. Where I'm like, subconsciously don't think that I'm happy where I am and that I will be happy somewhere else. And it's interesting how sometimes that gives you comfort. How like I'll be like, oh, tonight I'm doing X. And it's almost as if that makes me happier in the moment, but like in a false way. Because then it's like there's this buildup that happens.
Like if you're doing something that's like hard work
Yeah.
or whatever, and later you'll
Right.
be like watching a movie with friends.
Right. Later you're watching a movie with friends, and then for that whole time that you're doing hard work, it seems easy because all that's riding on is that later I get to watch a movie with friends. But then, say the watching movie with friends isn't as satisfying as you thought, then you just plummet after that because then, well, you get a choice. You either plummet because it's like, wow, that thing that all this time's been riding on just like didn't fall through, or you just choose the next thing to be excited about.
I was about to say, and the whole time you're watching the movie, you're like, this is fun because it's not X.
Yeah.
It's not the work I was doing earlier.
Yeah.
And it's like you're creating joy out of an anti.
Yeah, it's like you're here and you want to be there, and then you're there and you're thinking about where here was, and it's like, what?
Silly.
And for me, that brings up the topic of excitement. And by excitement, I mean any sort of disturbance. And by disturbance, because like excitement, you say excitement, and the first thing that like may come to mind is like a good thing.
Yeah.
And then you say disturbance, and it's like maybe that's a bad thing. But I want you to take good and bad out of excitement and disturbance, and just have it be, you have the stillness, and excitement or disturbance is something that brings you out of it. And something like effort for me always brings me out of a state of stillness.
And here's an interesting distinction that came in the Maharaj I Am That video we saw the other day.
That one's crazy. Yeah.
He said, or someone asked, like, what do I need to do to become awakened?
Yeah.
Or whatever. Or like, do I need to put in effort? Do I need to do sadhana? Whatever it was. And he was like, from a state of stillness, effort will arise, and effortlessness will take over.
Whoa.
And it's like when you, because the word effort itself could be like me building shelter.
Uh-huh.
And like I need shelter.
Yeah.
And then to say, oh, the spiritual person doesn't put in effort is like, if you're looking at effort with that definition, is then counterintuitive, you would think.
Yeah.
Or with something like learning how to take care of your body. There is effort needed in that, which is all a part of the spiritual process. But it's almost like where is this effort coming from? Because when you are in a state of stillness, it's almost, I love that idea of like the effort takes you over.
Yeah.
And then the effortlessness reveals itself, like, or it takes you over after that.
I think what I get caught up in when putting forth effort, which has always just crushed me. Like, it always ends up crushing me if I'm the one putting forth effort, is me not being in a state of stillness and putting effort so that I can go to that place, which is just so funny. Because, like, another thing that I've realized is that you can't start doing one thing, potentially. I'm not sure about this. You maybe...
We're not sure about anything
We're not sure
saying.
about anything we're saying. You maybe... It seems counterintuitive to be able to start doing one thing and expect a different result at the end. So, like, for me, being impatient about where I'm at in my spiritual process so that once I'm there, I can be, like, at rest.
Oh, those are some bars.
So, like, you can't...
Goes back to the example earlier of, like, working and being, like, in a crappy mind state
Exactly.
And being like, oh, I'll be happy then.
I'll be happy then. Yeah. And so that's just, like, just ain't gonna get you there. It's
just not.
Just ain't gonna get you there. And so that comes back to a thing that I was saying
We've lost them.
earlier.
No effort here. No effort. Don't reach
No
for it.
effort. We're just gonna exist in the stillness. Exist. The stillness. That's the key. You got all the answers because you don't need any.
All of us are like, what was you about to say? Should I take the mic for a second?
Yeah.
Okay. One of the ways in which this struck me, so we tried to film this video 15 minutes ago. A lot of effort was put in, failed.
Yes.
Then we sat to have some like stillness time before coming back in and centering in that. And I just kept repeating like effort, like what effort? Bring the things that I need to say. And one of the things that struck me was with artistic expression, because that's one of the things that feels so beautiful when it's like flowing out of you.
Yeah.
But if you try to put in effort to artistic expression, you know, it just doesn't happen. Or you like, yeah, it just feels so unnatural.
And what's interesting is either way, the art can get done. You know, you could paint something, you paint a flower, and effort was coming not from a place of stillness. And then you could paint another flower, and effort was coming from a place of stillness, and the flowers could look the same. Like, the result of your actions could look the same, but on the inside, there's a completely different thing going on. Like, in one hand, when you're putting effort not from a place of stillness, it seems like you're forcing. That's what it is to me. It's like, are you forcing it or are you not forcing at all?
And then it's interesting because I think it comes to a point of being like, well, hey, if the flower's the same at the end,
Yeah.
why does it matter if there was effort from a place of stillness or effort not from a place of stillness?
Well, because the flower was the external thing, and like the point of making the flower, you need to realize like isn't the external thing. It's what's happening on the inside. It's like what making that flower allowed for you, not making the flower. It's like shifting your perspective from like, no matter what I am on the inside, I need to do this physical work. It's like as long as you're really concerned with doing good physical work, like stop watching. You know? Like this is not that, it seems. Like I've found that it doesn't really matter all the time like what I am on the inside. Like my physical work probably looks the same to a lot of people, but it looks so different to me. And I'm the only one. Like I'm the only judge. I'm the only one who knows. Like if I do something and put a lot of effort into it that's coming from not a place of stillness, that to me looks different. Like physically will look different in my mind from the same thing that I did that came from like this effortlessness place, though there still was physical effort put in.
And this is where I think you get to the idea of like service or like God or channeling, because when you have that thing that came from a still effort from stillness, you're amazed by it.
Yeah.
Whereas the other one, you're not amazed by.
Because it's like you plan the whole thing.
Yes. And then that brings me to a place of like, in the way we are currently living, we often think we need to do these certain tasks in order to get somewhere, you know, like, but I guess it's seeming more and more to me like when you are coming from a place of stillness and then action, that the action is far more effective than you could have ever conceived. And I guess that's where it feels like the people throughout history that have given themselves fully to stillness, like a Sadhguru type, will call themselves slaves.
Yeah.
Like openly call themselves a slave.
Yeah.
Because they get to a spot of stillness, the effort arises, and they are just becoming whatever is needed.
It's like they're the vessel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like from that stillness, and that stillness has all the clarity, the thing that's needed will arise so much more naturally.
Dude. It's like, am I the one that knows what's best?
Yes.
Or not? Because that just hit me. It's like every time I've put in effort, it's as if I have the perception that I'm the one who knows what's best for me, for someone around me, for my own growth. And that has never in reality been the case.
Yes.
I've never seen any of my different spiritual growth phases. I've never seen any of them coming. It's not like, oh, here it comes. This is how. Let me show you. Like on the inside, like ego has just like no place in the matter, and it never gets you anywhere. It never has gotten me.
And it's interesting. I was talking to one of my friends the other day about an experience that had happened to me a few weekends ago, and then also catching them up on like you and I, because they haven't seen you in a long time.
Yeah.
And I was telling them how like you've been like Mitch has been dissolving a bit more.
Yeah.
And that's like clear. And they were like, well, why would you want to dissolve? You know?
That was kind of funny just thinking of that, because it's like, you don't know our friends,
Yeah.
but our friends are like very just like cool average American people.
These friends that we're talking about.
Yeah, these friends that we're talking about. And you saying like, oh, Mitch's personality is like dissolving.
Yeah.
It's like, there's no way that they were like, that's incredible.
Yeah,
It's like on the inside, it was probably something more like, what?
Yeah. Mitch is dying?
Mitch is dying.
It's like, yes, Mitch is dying.
Mitch is dying. And it's good.
But it made me take like 20 steps out of like learn with us and this whole world we've created.
Yeah.
And be like,
yeah.
why is that worth it? Like, why is that worth it? And like, what if this is just the wrong direction?
Yeah, we just both stopped. We're like, I think we're done. I think we're done with the channel.
We've confused ourselves
yeah.
a whole lot throughout
We
this
need our
process.
personalities to get by. I'm sure of that now.
But what was clear to me when I started like putting some effort in to explain it to them.
That works.
Works really well, as we've discovered throughout this video. And it struck me that it would not make sense until you've experienced a effortlessness or a joy
Yeah.
that comes with not being as strictly identified with a Mitch or an Eli.
Yeah, the weird feeling of joy that comes from stillness.
Yeah.
That's a trip. Like, especially early on, it's like you're losing your sense of identity, which is that's the basis of all the things you find joyous and unjoyous. And then somehow you're joyous in a way that's like really, really sustainable. And it just doesn't seem like it was like, oh, if I existed like this, it would just like remain because there's no thing that it's based on. It's like, what is that? It's like, there was no way that I could have ever thought that was cool before I experienced it.
Yes.
You know?
Because it's like a level of freedom that I have only touched upon. And maybe you have only touched upon. Maybe,
Definitely.
And it's like, so then living in this almost like in between and starting to understand a bit more of that.
Yeah.
Then you see like a Sadhguru figure who's like, I'm a slave. And you're like, oh.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's why being a slave could be a good thing.
Uh-huh.
You know?
Uh-huh. Yeah. Because you're not the one. You can't be the one that knows. It's like you never will be. It's like every time you're in your ego and you're like, I got it. It's like every time you don't have it. And that's for sure.
And I guess that's one of the things that with the whole effort, when I look around YouTube or the news, just general media, YouTube is the news these days.
Yeah.
There's so much effort constantly.
Yeah.
Because everyone is so strictly holding to the thing that they need to protect. Whether it's Democrats, Republicans, or vax, anti-vax, just take all the hot topics of today.
Yeah.
Even like basketball Celtics fan or like a different fan of a different team.
Yeah.
I don't know if I started to say a basketball team name and I was like, I don't know if people are gonna know team names.
Sports teams.
Yeah. If you have one of each sports team. And we walk around so much with this like tension of holding to those things where if anyone were to say something against one, all of your tension is like set off.
Yeah.
And it's as if there's just so much energy being put into just holding a strict posture. Rather than just being able to be like,
so true.
You
And
know?
what does, like, for anyone who's taken inner engineering, how does Sadhguru start every inner engineering video? It's like, take a deep breath, relax into this one, take another deep breath, relax even more into this one, take another deep breath and relax fully into this one. And that's, you're right.
Nice.
It's like I have like friends where, or I'll be more specific. We have roommates where at one point I told one of our roommates that it felt like they're like waiting to pounce. It's like almost like you say something and they're like, yes, this was like, I've been waiting for this because I want to like bring this up, but they're not, it's just like the tension's there. And like it's almost like this excitement about like wanting to have this confrontation or something. And it just feels like that there's this perception that I feel like I sometimes have where having that tension is almost like, well, if I don't have this tension, I won't be ready when the thing comes up.
And that is... Continue, sorry.
That was it.
Okay, perfect. That is... like I paused for a second there because I completely forgot what the first word that I was going to start with was.
Yes.
Tension, ready tension. Oh, that goes back to like all the things you're defending or whatever are these identities that you've gripped to, all these ideals that you've gripped to, that again, all of that effort may not be leading in the best direction.
Yeah.
But you are fully egoically convinced that those things are leading in the best direction to the point where you will carry tension all day long and carry mental runs all day long because those feelings of like, I'm ready to pounce.
Yeah.
Those are just preconceived conversations.
Yeah.
And one of the things that's been striking or lesson I've been learning, I'm calling it the silly boy lesson, is when I start predicting what someone else is going to say, prep the answer inside of me, and then either cut them off early to say my thing, or like right after they say it, say my thing, without realizing that what they said went a completely different direction, or would have.
Yeah.
And there's so much effort involved, rather than me being like, relax into this one, relax into this one, relax. And then they say whatever they say, and the answer or the not answer can just flow out of me.
That's... Okay. Going back to like effort and talking about that, the effort, it just came to mind for me how much effort I put into like all the processing that goes in to make a situation go how I want it to, which keeps me from hearing, like even if I hear what they say, my answer will be with a certain thing in mind. Like I'll answer in a way where I'm clearly like afraid to just blurt something out, which I know like at least in America we're often told like think before you speak. I'm going to say fuck that. I'm just going to say it.
Be before you speak.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. And just the thinking before I speak has always caused me to tread around things, like tread around issues or make them think of me a certain way, or allows me to skirt around the truth, which then creates tension inside of me. And yeah.
And all of those things, all they do is repress the thing that could have come out and gotten you to the answer quicker. Because like think about someone you know. I don't know if you know someone like this. One of our roommates is like this, where he's so inquisitive.
Yeah.
And he'll just ask blunt questions, especially when it comes to like learning something.
Yeah.
Like if I can do something that he can't do, he's going to ask every question right when it comes up.
Yeah.
And it's incredible because he'll get to the answers so much faster than I would have because of being like, I need to be proper in this situation.
Yeah.
I need to make sure I'm not abrasive, X, Y, Z.
Uh-huh.
And then you see someone with that, like, just let it come out.
Yeah.
And even if it feels a little bit abrasive, that's on me, first of all, to be like judging them for being abrasive. Because really all I'm doing is judging them for being more in flow than I am.
Yeah, being more themselves.
Yeah. And it also led me to think about like what you were saying and what I was saying about like the little boy effect was it comes to me full circle back to that painting of the flower we were talking about, where a conversation that is painted with a lot of effort of like, I think it should go like this, is going to be such a surface level result at the end inside of yourself. Whereas the beauty of a conversation happens between us.
And it's like so not certain.
And it's the flow and it's the look at this magical thing we painted.
Learn with us.
Learn with us.
We painted learn with us.
We could have never painted that thing.
Yeah.
It just painted itself almost.
Oh, absolutely. I was like self-reflecting on the channel and I was like, how the hell did we get here? Like, how did we get here? This feels like such a not me choice, but in a great way. Like in a way where I'm like, I am here for the ride. But it's just
Who's
like,
driving though?
who's driving? Are they impaired?
Because also what goes back to that with this channel and the whole idea of effort is that we had this vision at the beginning where this effort naturally arose. I failed at making 2 channels before this. The effort was still just arising there.
Yeah.
You came in. We started making completely different types of content. The effort was arising. Every time we would get to like this type of content, we thought we had the channel direction. We thought we had everything. The branding was on point. Most of the time, it was literally right after making like a brand change that it would collapse on itself.
Yeah, we'd be like, wow, this is really bad.
And it was like, because we had built up this whole effort around it and faking that we knew the answer.
Yeah.
And then it shatters.
Right.
But every time it's broken has been the most, like the nicest release because we've been like, oh, of course we should make this type of video, not that.
And it's like, for the first time in a while, it's like we can be honest with each other that it's not working because it's like we don't have anything invested in it working anymore, you know?
That's the lesson of this conversation. The investment. The investment in what you think effort should be, how you should place it.
Yes.
And again, that doesn't mean things don't get done. That means things are going to get done in ways that you could never imagine.
Yeah. It's like the joy, like what I was talking about earlier about the joy coming from stillness and how crazy that is. It's like the effort is also arising from the stillness. And so, yes, you could call it effort. And the other thing is also called effort, but they're so different. And yes, you could call that joy. And this other thing you could also call joy, but they're incomparable. You know? And you won't know the other side until you're just like resting in that stillness where you're like, I don't have anywhere to be. Yeah.
Stillness is the key. Bars. You got anything else to say? Come on. We're on a tight schedule here.
Scubber rubber dub dub.
Jeez. I shouldn't have asked. I should not have asked.
Quick side tangent.
Yeah.
I've been writing very little lately, and I used to write a lot of poetry, read a lot of poetry. Also been reading pretty much nothing over the last couple of weeks, and this is very unusual for me, both of those things. And I've realized that it's come to me that on a certain level, I can't learn anything from books, and everything that I would try to write down is something that I just need to always know inside of me. It's like, what's the point of writing it down? So anytime I used to like have a crazy experience and I'd be like, how can I make this into a poem that sounds really nice? Like if we're really getting down to it, like that's what I would say. And last night I sat down to write, and I just wrote absolute gibberish, and it felt so good. Because it was like I lost all the effort of like, I need to properly take this experience, put it onto a page, maybe share it with people, or just be stoked that I could encapsulate an experience in a poem.
Wow.
And realizing that that is a really silly effort was fun, and then it just turned into just an absolute stream of consciousness, like non-logical gibberish writing that felt very free. Yeah.
Dang.
Uh-huh.
That's like, we bought some paint the other day, and I've only painted twice in this past time. I've never like learned how to paint well.
Yeah.
So it's almost like by picking up that tool, I am put into a place of, I don't know where my effort should be.
Mm-hmm.
So let's just play.
Mm.
And it feels so, like right when I started painting last night, other ideas started flooding in my mind that were like for a different thing that I did care about finishing, but had like a blockage on.
Yeah.
And it was like just getting into that space of less effort.
Mm-hmm.
The other things just came.
Yeah.
Oh my.
Jeepers.
Hey, round 2 went a lot better than round 1.
Yeah.
Value judgment.
True. You got anything to say?
Let us know.
Let us know.
Yeah. I was about to say, like, what do you guys think about this type of video? But I don't really care. Wow. I do appreciate you, though. A lot. Much love.
Some love.